Hello and welcome to Council Action. I'm Russell Inman, and joining us tonight from Ward 8 is Councilman Mark Schmidt. Mark, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
Good, really good. Nice to see you again, Russell.
Good to see you as always. The meeting went kind of a moderate pace tonight. We got one public hearing that I think we're going to kind of get into quite a bit.
Yeah. It was a little longer meeting than you would think by looking at the agenda. It really was. That's what we were all kind of commenting the same thing. It just drug out a little bit longer, so it was good.
Let's touch base. We don't often do this. In fact, I don't know that there's ever been a council meeting where I've had to kind of take a moment of silence to remember a council member tonight.
Yeah, we lost actually it was a good friend and a council member, Mr. John Gribb, passed away this past week. He served on this council for 6 years, and previous to that served on our Planning and Zoning Commission for 20 years. So Mr. Gribb served the city well, and he'll be missed by many. So as you'll see tonight, and you'll see right now, if you didn't watch the council meeting, you'll see that I'm in a polo shirt. Mr. Gribb was a little unconventional, to say the least. He did not believe in ties nor suits, and began attending our meetings in a lot in just shirts and no tie. A lot of times he would show up in his polo shirt, while the rest of us would be dressed up as you are in our suits and ties. So he did things on his own. So in remembrance of him tonight, before we had the moment of silence, we made much of that. The entire council wore our polo shirts tonight, and we all hung our ties out in front of our dais in memory of John. So that's why. Well,
the council all had a chance to give words, and that kind of the common theme was friend. He was honest, he was forthright, and he was a friend, a mentor to many.
Yes, he was.
We also had the Pledge of Allegiance, kind of skip backwards, given by one of the troops. It's always nice to see one of the Boy Scout troops, Cub Scout troops come up and lead us with the pledge.
Yeah, I think they were from Atonement Lutheran, so it was good to see those guys come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
And there was a joint resolution tonight for the Florissant City Council and the Mayor Schneider regarding the Old Town Partners and the Fall Festival. A presentation and plaques were given out tonight.
It's nice, and as everybody knows, and if you haven't attended Fall Festival in the city of Florissant, you're really missing out, but I think most people have. Over the last 18 years we've been doing that, and it's grown from a very small festival to one of the largest ones in the state, actually. And again, this year was no different. The weather was absolutely gorgeous. You couldn't have asked for a better day, and it was packed. And if you didn't have fun and you couldn't figure out something to do, it was your own fault. But this was a nice little resolution that we gave, in essence, to our city clerk, Karen Goodwin, and Diane Weiniger, who used to be past president of Florissant Valley Chamber of Commerce, which is now Great North County Chamber of Commerce. They both co-chair the event, and they have for the last 9 years. So it was nice recognition for them, although it does go to their entire staff, and they'd bring them all up, and it was nice to give kudos to all those people, because it does take a lot more than just a few people to put that on.
It's no small task to put on a festival like that. Well, let's talk about public hearings. We mentioned this is kind of what brought what seemed to be a short meeting out, probably at least an extra 30 minutes. There's a public hearing tonight for Amigo Food LLC. They do business as Rubio's Fresh Mexican Grill. They want to allow the operation of a restaurant/grocery store at a property at 758 South New Florissant Road. This is next to the Family Dollar.
The address right next to the Family Dollar on Florissant Road. So as everybody knows, Family Dollar went in right across from the Fisher's sporting goods store, and we have the new Family Dollar. Well, right next to that Family Dollar, when they remodeled that building, they left a little small, and I shouldn't say small, but it's a 3,000 square foot space in front of the veterinarian clinic. That Duchesne Veterinary Clinic is right behind it. So it's just a little cutout, and Family Dollar, rather than go in it, just took the full space that they went in. So this space has been vacant, I guess, since really Family Dollar's opened up. And that's where this gentleman wants to put in a carry-out only food business and Mexican grocery store. So there were a few questions tonight. he didn't quite have his building plans, didn't seem to be cohesive. There were a few problems. I think we had problems with where his restrooms were going to be and how you were going to get to the restrooms. We had some problems with, and I think there were a lot of questions on his deliveries, where they were going to be at. Since he really has no access to the rear of the building, his deliveries will be on the side of the building. So we were just kind of clarifying that a little bit. I think there's still some question of where the dumpster's going to be for that particular building or his business. So I think there were more questions than there were answers. So I think we sent him back. We continued it and sent him back to the drawing board and bring a new set of plans with a little bit more detail and fix some of the problems that he's got. So hopefully they'll get resolved and it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think you mentioned most of the points that I had written down here. That it was going to be carry out. They were going to be closed on Saturdays, open every other day of the week. There was worry about the deliveries, and a lot of concerns seemed to come up about the dumpsters in the back and the enclosure, the visibility to the houses right behind it.
Yeah, they're just question of where is it going to be exactly, and then the deliveries, how that's going to work, and basically, again, what hours. Now, he did specify a little bit that most of his deliveries would be at 7 to 8 a.m. in the morning, which is fine. That's before the veterinary clinic opens up, so any trucks that would be parked on the side of the building there wouldn't interfere with that. And I think that would even be before Dollar General opens up. So that hopefully wouldn't be a concern. But we still need to know where the dumpster's going to be and how that's going to be screened. And then I think this problem with the restrooms, where there's no clear path to get to the restrooms.
So it's more than
he's
just
got
to follow the brick road.
The way he's got it laid out right now is you've got to walk through his kitchen entrance and his stockroom entrance from the back, going through those doors, and then down this hallway that he's going to make, and then to the restrooms. So you're going to have the public walking through an access area into a kitchen and stockroom, which didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So hopefully we'll get that resolved, that he can relay that area out a little bit better and have better access to the restrooms, public restrooms.
And some of the comments made about the outside facade of the building or the pavement of the building, that's really not on the restaurant. That's more of the property owner.
That's
that
the
needs
property
to really
owner
kind of
will
build
probably
their,
be
build their
involved.
building back up.
But the way I understand it, the property owner is part owner of this.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how that all plays in, but yeah, I think there's going to be some suggestions that the property owner step up, and yeah, the lot needs a little TLC, and so.
Well, it's an important area of Florissant with
Yes, on
Fisher's,
Florissant
one of the
Road, yeah.
longest standing companies there in Florissant, and a family ice cream shop on the corner. It'd be a good corner to clean up.
Yes.
The next public hearing tonight was a request for a special use permit, New York Grill, Inc. They do business as New York Grill. They want an operation at 540 North Highway 67. Next to Auto Tire. They're right, good face front on Lindbergh.
On Lindbergh. This is actually a second location. He already has one open on Lindbergh, the New York Grill. So this is just kind of a second location. This one will definitely be a carry-out only, though. I think his other location you can dine in. It's not real large, but there are some tables you can sit in there. So this is kind of nice that you have a business that is actually expanding in the city of Florissant.
Yeah.
So it's very nice.
Doing well enough to do a second location right here. That's terrific. Old business. We'll go through second readings. These really went through pretty quick,
Yeah.
I'd say. Rezoning a section of North Highway 67 from B4 to B3. It's an extensive business district. You want to expand on a purpose of this? We talked about it a little bit in the last meeting too.
Yeah,
but
the public hearing was held last meeting. Basically, what we're doing is eliminating the B4. There is a B4 in a certain section on Lindbergh, which really there is no need for. It kind of a B4 is basically no different. It should be no different than our B3, and then the B5 is for major expansions and new construction. So that doesn't even come into play here. So it was just these few little strips, this one little strip center that was considered a B4. So, and it has no, like I said, it really doesn't make any difference. So what we did was house cleanup. We've eliminated the B4, made that a B3, just like the rest of Lindbergh, so that it's all cohesive, and the zoning is nice and clean now. So it's really just kind of a cleanup. Nothing really got changed, nothing out of the ordinary. All the businesses are still exactly the same. Everything really stays the same. All we did was eliminate one zoning code from our books. So we eliminated the B4, so we don't have a B4 anymore. So it's perfect. And then the next bill kind of coincides with that, and that's just again a housekeeping thing. As businesses kind of change names and/or directions, we always are updating our permitted uses. And a permitted use is a business that's already allowed in a B3. They don't need to come before the city council for anything that's permitted use. They just strictly go either to P&Z or straight, if it's, in a lot of cases, they go straight to the business office and just apply for their license. So all we did was clean up some businesses that weren't really in that we kind of missed, and there was a couple. The one is the animal hospitals. For some reason, we didn't have animal hospitals as a permitted use in a B3, which we have them, but there's no reason they shouldn't be a permitted use. So and that's what that is. So it's a house cleaning. And the blueprint shop is the same thing, kind of a print shop. It's the same thing. They were just not. They were just excluded. We just missed it. So just house cleaning.
Okay. And the third item on its second reading, after those two passed, we had an ordinance approving community development block grant. This is authorizing, directing the mayor to submit a plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. What's going on with this piece?
This has changed over the years. This goes back to our community development block grant funds, which we received from the federal government. We are the only municipality in St. Louis County that gets funds separately. St. Louis County gets community development block grant funds, which then they distribute to some municipalities. But we are the only municipality that get our own funds.
Okay.
So what we usually did was just apply and reapply. They have since changed that, so now that you have to come up with this annual action plan. And it's a little bit more extensive than just submitting what you were going to do with the funds and how we're going to use them. So, like I said, it's just basically that. It's just a little bit more intense, a little bit more information. So it's a booklet now where it used to be just a couple pieces of paper.
Right.
So that's what this is.
Okay.
It's no different. This is where we get that, I think we're at $270,000 a year is what we usually get from the Community Development Grant Fund. So that's usually helps with our maintenance programs that we have, the matching funds for maintenance and upkeep of homes. So.
All right. And the next three, Mark, we're really dealing with budget time. This is the time of the year where you've got to kind of finish and finalize the budget from the last fiscal year. You're looking at a new budget for next year. But these three items all dealt with just kind of bringing that budget back in balance. We had an ordinance authorizing various transfers within public departments for year-end budget adjustments. There was $20,000 from a general revenue fund to telephones to cover expenses through the end of the year. And finally, $176,500 from the general revenue fund to salaries for those overtime expenses for the police department. We've had a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of police department activity with some of the events in the last year.
Yes, we did. And these are all housekeeping. It's just to make sure our funds and our accounts are in balance at the end of the year, for our end of our fiscal year, which is November 30th. So that's all those are. The overtime, a lot of this, and not a lot of it, but a few dollars of that is also matching grants that they still applied for, but we foot the bill first, and then when the grant comes in, then we get reimbursed. So some of this money will get reimbursed from federal grants that the police department has applied for, but in essence, you put the money out first, and then you get reimbursed. But yeah, police department had rough, little overtime this year with the events in Ferguson and surrounding communities, and just for their own detective agencies with some of the crimes that they were solving. So.
The good side of that equation is Florissant stayed safe.
Safe, yes.
Board appointments, Mayor made a few of those to the Emergency Commission, the Senior Commission. Then we had bills for first reading. This was the New York Grill, which we just talked about in the public hearing. That had one reading tonight. So imagine there didn't seem to be too many questions. We'll see that one come back in a couple of weeks.
I'm sure that won't pass in a couple of weeks, yes.
Council announcements. Let's talk about what's going on in the city of Florissant. We're talking about Neighborhood Watch. A lot of the wards have expressed a big interest for their residents to get involved.
Yeah, that's always a big push from all the council. We all encourage our residents to get involved with the Neighborhood Watch. They've started kind of a new program. They're trying to get a little bit more citizens involved. And they've started out with they have a ward captain now. So each ward has a captain, much like we have representatives and you have council people. Now you're going to have a ward captain, which will take care of each ward. And he will be responsible for getting the captains and having some small meetings with the individual captains of different neighborhoods and different blocks for those neighborhood watches. It's just something to help the police department with another layer of interaction. So when the police may not always be available for all the meetings and all the things, we've got a block captain that can kind of step in. So it's a nice program. So again, we're talking about it, and I would encourage every resident to get involved with the Neighborhood Watch. If you don't know if there's one in your neighborhood, call the police department, ask for the public service director. That's Craig DeHart. He's in charge of our Neighborhood Watch. He can give you all the information that you want. And just get involved. Or you can call any of the council people, and the same thing. We can try and get you involved and get you to the right people as well. But we would encourage everybody to get involved with their Neighborhood Watch and get involved with your neighbors. I mean, that's what this is. Basically, Neighborhood Watch is no different than what it sounds like. It's neighbors watching neighbors.
That's right.
It's keeping an eye on our property and everybody else's.
Well, and to keep an eye on our streets, we've got the November election coming up with Proposition S. Do you want to expand on that a bit?
I was going to hope we were going to go right into that. Prop S, November 3rd election. This is something that's very important to the city, and it should be to every resident. We would encourage you to go out and vote. This Prop S is a quarter-cent sales tax that will provide additional funding for our streets, repair, and maintenance. This additional money is in addition to the money that we already budget in our normal budget session, but this is going to be a little extra money that's going to help with some rebuilding of streets. If everybody's seen our slurry seals, and that's fine, and we've always had problems with that, well, those are all stopgap measures. That's just preventative maintenance on a street that you slurry seal it to give it a little bit more extra life. It's not a be-all to end-all on our streets. And what happens over the years, and I think people see it, is the sloping gutters that we have in a lot of our streets just tend to disappear over the years when you slurry seal,
right into the grass,
because you just keep building it up. This money would hopefully be used for just major repairs of streets. And then we were talking about complete overlays. So you're tearing the street out, you're tearing the subsurface out, redoing that, and resurfacing a street. So we're talking about some major repairs of our streets that we have to do over the next few years and probably many years down the road. So this is going to provide us that. So for a quarter cent, which equates to a 1 quarter on every $100 that you would spend at the grocery store.
Okay, good. And that's coming up in November.
Coming up
Now,
November 3rd.
I think it was also mentioned some of the polling places won't be open. Some wards have all of theirs open.
Right.
But make sure that you check your voter's card
Since
to
this
know
is
where
the
you'll be.
only thing that's going to be on the ballot in Florissant in November, normally City of Florissant has 29 polling places. That would be our normal. We are only going to have 22 open this November. So there'll be 7 polling places that will not be open. So it's very important that when you get your little white card in the mail, your notice of election, that you double check it and look and see where you're voting. Because there are going to be 7 polling places that are not going to be open this November. So people are going to get shifted around. I don't think that's not going to be a permanent thing. This is just for this election, since it's going to be a light turnout, everybody knows that, and it's the only thing that's on the ballot. So they can get away with closing a few polling places and move some of them around, which is actually going to be a cost savings. So it's a good thing. So again, I would just stress that when you get that little white card, just don't toss it aside and assume. Just give it a double check and make sure your polling place is either open or you've been shifted to someplace else.
Perfect. Well, Mark, any last thoughts? Anything great going on in your ward that you'd like to share tonight before we?
No, really just Prop S. I would encourage everybody to go out and vote. And if you need more information, we are going to have a town hall meeting again this Thursday, the 29th, at the James J. Egan Center. So again, if you need some information on it, you're not quite sure about it, come up Thursday to the James J. Egan Center and you can get that information. We'll be all there to answer your questions for you.
Perfect. Mark, thank you for your insight and explaining the agenda in a way that the public can quickly understand what happened tonight. We appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for watching. I'm Russell Inman. This has been Council Action. We'll see you next time.